Hey everybody, it's Zachary again. So I just wanted to talk in this video about the application process for Yenching and what the specifics of the process are and what they require from you, and perhaps any tips I might have on how to get accepted. So the application for process for Yenching is a little bit different from Schwartzman. Schwartzman has a large number of applications that they filter directly through every university. With Yenching, it's a little bit different. They have what they call partner universities, and then they have non-partner universities. So partner universities are usually institutions which they have a bilateral relationship with. By which I mean Yenching and Peking University have a bilateral relationship with, and whom they have already established contacts with. You can check online to see if your university is a partner university, but what that means is they are going to look at your, if you are, they're going to look at your application more closely and with more of a fine-tooth comb. That said, if you don't come from a partner university, you should still apply. There are plenty of opportunities, and I know of plenty of people who got in as a result of just simply having a strong application. So with the application process itself, what happens with partner universities is that you, at least in my case, you're going to apply first through your university, and they're going to filter which applications get accepted and which applications don't get accepted, and then they will determine whether you are going to be a campus nominee in the same way a Rhodes or Marshall Scholar is a campus nominee, i.e. your scholarship or fellowship office has chosen you to represent your school at the next round of the scholarship competition. So for Yenching, if you get chosen as a representative of your school, you're then, for all your application materials are then forwarded to the Yenching Evaluation Committee. The Yenching Evaluation Committee may or may not select you for an interview, and at the interview, they will it's usually very friendly. They'll ask you a series of questions about your area of expertise. So, for example, my background was international relations, and they asked me a variety of questions about international relations. And then they'll usually ask you to give sort of just a short summary of why you're interested in studying at Yenching and why you're interested in studying Chinese more specifically. Unlike, say, Schwartzman or Rhodes, it tends to be a much more jovial, convivial atmosphere, much less adversarial. People, at least from the cases that I know of, no one was asking trick questions or attempting to break anyone down by any stretch of the imagination. It was just very similar to having coffee or a friendly conversation. So, assuming it's the same interviewers and same interviewing process, you shouldn't be too scared, you shouldn't be too afraid, but you should still prepare. Generally, what I would recommend doing for Yenching, if you get to the interview round, is have a short summary of why you're interested in studying in China, specifically, and why you're interested at studying at Beida, and what opportunities Yenching and Beida offers you that other universities can't. And this is the case where I think a lot of scholarship programs, fit is very important, or is more important than you might expect. Simply being an outstanding candidate is great, but there's plenty of outstanding candidates. So try to tailor your answer to not necessarily what you think they want from you, but just simply come up with a reason why, and series of reasons why you would be a good candidate specifically for Beida in Yenching's case, or for that matter specifically for Tsinghua or Schwartzman in Schwartzman's case. After the interview, they will usually wait a few weeks, or there will be a few-week period of waiting where they'll evaluate the interviews or the interviewees who constitute sort of the final round of the scholarship, and they'll make a selection on the basis of, I don't know specifically, but my guess would be on the basis of both the interview and the application itself. Now, regarding the application, at least when I was applying, Yenchingers were asked, or Yenching applicants were asked to send a 2-page resume of your accomplishments, both specific to China, but just in general. Send in I believe a 1 or 2-page short statement of purpose involving and asking why you want to study at Yenching and how you're going to make use of your time. And we're asked to send in, I believe, 2 or 3 letters of recommendation. From what I've seen, letters of recommendation are best sent in by professors, but it's also, as a general rule, helpful to have a person who is a professional reference or who can speak to your abilities outside of the classroom. So, for example, when I had a State Department internship, I had my my consul supervisor write a letter of recommendation saying what I did working in an immigrant visa department in Consul Guangzhou back in 3 years before I had before I applied to Yenching, and how that related to my broader plan to become a diplomat or work in foreign service somehow, and how that would link into my time at Yenching. I've heard, not specific to Yenching, but in general, that third professional reference can really round out your application and it speaks to your abilities far beyond simply what you know, but also what you can do. I would also recommend, with regard to the resume itself, not trying to tailor your resume too much. My sense is that they're willing to accept people from all different backgrounds. As I said in my first video, we had people who were creative writing majors, we had people who were focused on creative writing, we had people who were focused on foreign affairs and international relations and economics, or US-China economics, obviously, but we also had people who were engineers, professional dancers, all number of different backgrounds, and I think they're really looking to round out the applicant pool, perhaps to a greater degree than Schwartzman is, because Schwartzman tends to be a bit more business-oriented, where Yenching tends to be a bit more academically, or I shouldn't say academically focused, a bit more focused on pure intellectualism for intellectualism's sake. When it comes to the final round of interviews, you'll eventually hear back, or you'll hear back within about 4 weeks, or I think 5 weeks, at least in my case, and that usually comes in, I believe, February or March of the year before you start, at which point you'll be given an offer, and you'll have about a week or so to accept. You might be applying to different other scholarship programs as well, and Yenching's offer generally comes before most other scholarship programs, again, at least 2 years ago. I got mine before I got an offer for or a decision on the Boren scholarship, but after I had applied and found out about the Rhodes and Marshall scholarship. So that's the main process for applying for Yenching.